the first to know Nsem-Pii TV.
Now, ope enyoma be semiensa ananan ya Ghana for dodo na no ejina so. Na omode campaigning etia the S-while Nana Danko Akufo-Addo's administration. Now the issue of Galamsey, the issue of National Cathedral, the issue of LGBTQ+, the issue of the economy, through the exchange rate. Sanyoma nai in the decision making process of for majority of Ghanaians in the 2024 general elections. Now, Enra National Cathedral who Nsem-Pii court. Ghana manya semankasa very very interesting. Now, Casey, it was filed somewhere November last year. And in fact, court ayeno kwana bra sa. Now it was filed by a private citizen. That your friend Mr. Enoch Amable. Now or challenge one. Said the financing of the National Cathedral project by government is unlawful. And two, the other was a challenge beyond said. There is this $10 billion COVID relief bond transaction. Yeah, a course so between the Ministry of Finance and the Bank of Ghana. Which and also unconstitutional because it didn't seek parliamentary approval. And as a transaction course so between the Finance Ministry and the Bank of Ghana, a bino Ede says cano eboye in the fight against COVID-19. Now, that time, Mekayepa said the majority in parliament, and someone more can say, they suspect, say minority in Hunkophobia, now omoya strongly opposed to the National Cathedral project. Biti say, Yura Samuel Okujeto Blakwa, Obiti say, the Honorable Mama Yarega, Obiti say, Dr. Keselato Forsen, and Aqua type Papayechi, Ama Wadi Asemna Kupimo court. Eluti, a bra court, yeah, kwana bra, tusha da sanwa, ebewura, afimu. Na aban sesan ye ba ye ema the National Democratic Congress e we ni tumi no na de dodo na ehwe animu say afa de ye twafufo de ato omon kwan mu till now they have all the opportunity to declare say National Cathedral project no funding be a free aban kofesimu ko ye bia no na eye unlawful said they no omoka no when they were in opposition. But interestingly, the narrative changed enra ewo court. The narrative has changed. The Attorney General, Dr. Dominic Akutinga Yini, and represented the government of Ghana in this case. Now, I am reading this article from citynewsroom.com. Making kind of brofo said the bear, Mobetia Siena Yachirimu, or say, the Attorney General's Department, represented by Dr. Dominic Akutinga Yini, has defended the government's actions in a case challenging the constitutionality of certain financial transactions in the financing of the National Cathedral project. This follows a 2024 November suit filed at the Supreme Court by a private citizen, Mr. Jonathan Enoch Amable, who is seeking several declarations against the government over what he describes as unconstitutional financial practices. Among other reliefs, Mr. Amable is asking the court to declare that the financing of the National Cathedral's construction from the Consolidated Fund without the prior approval of the Speaker of Parliament and the Chairperson of the Council of State contravenes Article 179 Clause 11 of the 1992 Constitution. He is also seeking an order for the return of all monies allegedly withdrawn unconstitutionally for the National Cathedral project. It will be recalled that the then minority caucus, led by Kesel Atoforsen, Mama Yarega, and Samuel Okujeto Blakwa, had previously raised concerns over alleged financing of the National Cathedral project by the government of Ghana through the Bank of Ghana without prior parliamentary approval. In addition to the National Cathedral Funding, the plaintiff is challenging the constitutionality of the $10 billion COVID-19 relief bond transaction between the Ministry of Finance and the Bank of Ghana, which was also a bone of contention by the minority then. He argues that the transaction, which formed part of Bank of Ghana's asset purchase program, violated Article 181 Clause 4 of the Constitution, which governs public borrowing. However, in a statement of case opposing the suit, the Attorney General, Dr. Dominic Ayini, insisted that the provisions cited by the plaintiff are lawful and consistent with the Constitution. The Attorney General maintained in Supreme Court today that every single payment towards the National Cathedral by the government of Ghana were made lawfully under the contingency vote, characterized and categorized under other government obligations and not from the contingency fund as alleged. The National Cathedral is 100% owned by the state. The Attorney General's statement read, indeed, the National Cathedral is a state-owned company limited by guarantee under the Ghana Museums and Monument Board. Hence, every single funding from the government of Ghana to the National Cathedral's project financing is legal. The statement further noted that details regarding the National Cathedral's financing and policy direction had been publicly presented through annual budget statement since 2018 and has been officially audited by a credible auditing firm. In those budget statements, the Finance Minister, Ken Ofori-Atta, outlined the government's commitment to providing a land, a secretariat, and seed monies for the project, with the expectation that the majority of the construction and maintenance funding would come from non-public sources. The Attorney General also recorded that the financing of the project had received policy approval and financing approval from Parliament as part of the national budget after extensive debate from both the majority and the minorities in Parliament. Hence, my Lord, I can confidently attest that no illegal money was paid in the National Cathedral project by government. On the issue of the COVID-19 relief bond, the Attorney General's Department argued that the transaction between the Ministry of Finance and the Bank of Ghana fell within the lawful scope of fiscal management measures adopted during the pandemic. In Nigeria, Attorney General Dr. Ayini Kanchre Ghana for say, $10 billion ya abayi where ye COVID ho nsensem a the NDC den ejina so say Akufo-Addo abanye wia COVID sika, Akufo-Addo abanye wia COVID sika, edi COVID sika na omo san nyanto wase capture no buku bia na efre na Japadio se adepadio se die yo ene di Attorney General Dr. Ayini Kanchre say sa COVID sika no it fell under the lawful scope of fiscal management. This same thing almost sorry jina sabren e call for the head of Yewra Ken Ofori-Atta say oye kromfo wa mo man ya boka e wo National Cathedral wa wi o man sika when it comes to COVID-19 sika bebre ba ga na nyaye ene die Dr. Dominic Akutinga yi ni akoka na Supreme Court say $10 billion COVID transaction between Ministry of Finance and Bank of Ghana, it fell within the lawful scope. The word here is lawful.
We need to have a psychological defiance be we yet me there. The mean wuna impuno. Ema wadi show mu na social media. I mean social media. Me hwe debi. Enyim na forward Nsem-Pii mam na di bubu ma bema ma block line din. So I'm asking young colleagues, jina wanado politics biano was akukudu na was here. Hey, ichu mutain aban owodo obogu enyim asekaka. Ichu mutain as in trying to do wobotwa to odo.
Is that the kind of democracy you want to practice? When you talk about when you talk about aban also and ichu mutain the OPB.
Oh, but that is what's happening.
But you bring me back to more parliament as minority, and one of your members, former, in Chatusobi Abatonoso. What have you as the minority done about the Kaswa member of parliament that Oditro to get that seat, to almost get your member of parliament, former, Ghana's former minister, to get imprisoned, to get jailed, and you are the minority is silent on that?
Oh, Omain Mpocho, let's put things in the right perspective. First of all, Minister of Interior and then the police, whatever investigation I was here, they've been very objective.
But as we speak,
Mpocho,
when you talk about objectivity,
Mpocho,
where objectivity means that the report has told us that the two bodies that were dead, were shot dead, is captured in the report, and the police retrieved those bodies, or they didn't. And what I'm saying is that on the aspect of Hawakumsin, I'm saying that the allegation was that Hawa Nawai Bibi. Yeah. And then they came out clear there. Hawa Onyeshim Masa. They've also said that the other member of parliament, the Rabana Owineno, Wanfano Koribi, and to Masa. Now, Hawa has issued a statement to say that no coroner says you'll be Masa. For me, advice Amesba man Mankawaha. Whatever that I would say to Hawa on what steps she should take, and for that matter the party, I think that these are matters that I would not raise them now. It's a matter that I would raise it at the appropriate forum within the party structure. I will not raise it now. So when you have public office, maybe difficulty is the word he's been objective, he's been fair. So when you enter public office, what is it there that you're going to do? To be biased, not to be objective, not to be fair, not to be principled, not to be honest, not to be transparent? That is the kind of thing you want us to operate.
Ideally, that is how it's supposed to be. That a police officer investigating a matter, a minister of state in a public office would have to be fair, candid, asamano, modern, osboto. But again, we operate in a political system. So, where you see fairness, you are tempted to comment because it doesn't often happen. But ideally, that should be it.
But that's the challenge. That is why taxi driver Sika on a kemu. No, the abano money munina ebosi. What is the responsibility of the side of that? Who Sika said that okay, moi.
Into Mfa.
So where is the praise coming from? Where's it coming from? That is how far you are telling us that we've gone in terms of the social fabric. You're deteriorated to that extent.
Unfortunately, that is what it is.
Who is supposed to do his work.
Unfortunately, that is what it is. That is what it
also
is.
Tells us the kind of people we have engaged to occupy the public office.
Omain, me just there. Anope a high yeti. Yan discussion aye. One objective of it is to shape public opinion.
But for how long are we going to shape this opinion?
In terms of how aye Nsema Ghana. Because Nsem-Pii wa Dembre Mezi Kanaka, for instance, a whole chief justice or Yenejuma obi akachistro petition no sabio what's the work and asam no one year yo what the three petitions three
we first one a date for hearing. The next thing is a non-new judge. Non-new judge. I say, why a report?
Okay, so who say this matter of the Chief Justice is of concern to all of us.
Oh yes,
not just the minority, all of us. So what was the purpose opting out of this big opportunity?
No.
To unleash whatever it is.
No.
You missed that opportunity.
We didn't. Let me explain. You see, principle is principle. If you raise a preliminary legal issue, there are court cases. Court in Bua Samano. Mosi yam vets nimpana oye a bafobone a judge no. Onu no oye den choye the oil panel judges no woji asemen. Okunkon 1 year because on him do benefit from this. Yes, they be. Me vet na. What it means is that I'm saying it's a legitimate nomination,
but an opportunity
no
to put to him that what
it is not about
to
that
benefit from
Debbie,
is not the best
Debbie,
as
once
a country.
Once you raise the preliminary issue and you've been overruled, you don't proceed to give oxygen to the next stage. No, it is never done. The right thing we did was at the timing. The right thing we did, was to tell them there, as na on yet. That is why yesterday you vote against it. We are not going to vet him. Vet him. What to what end? You can vet him to what end? Was there any spare to prick the size of his intent? Was not only voting ambition, by the way, voting ambition.
How?
Wabetro also one vetting. Only me there. Nimpa or Chief Justice no. One now was in a system. In what the way Justice for one teenage. Then you are or so. Ye look. The judiciary funankasa why no. One day.
And that's the language.
It will come and hunt they themselves.
We are sad the development and growth of this country becomes a challenge. Now the minority talks, the MPP talks, the opposition talks, and it's sir. And as I said, say Nameya Adumni Ebadia, and ya Ajo Kofa UN General Assembly Dineba, Ajo Kofa a Buckingham Palace ba, and Sanyama bill. What country are we building? Is that the? What country are we building?
Have you been
Why can't we tell them straight that these conditions that you are giving us for bail, it's unreasonable, it's unimaginable, it's unthinkable. You are not doing what small parliament but most of them interest of parliament. The majority, the minority works out because an individual. They feel that the processes is wrong. They've boycotted it. Make up na santima to abama fenyo marking. Wabejina manem we futu. Esutifi north. Matuza at Ngarama eye eben. Wanoswa akojina baby. So whose interest are you serving? Partisan interest or the national interest? Which one? You missed a constitutional opportunity to go through the details of your challenges as minority, serving the interest of most of us as Ghanaians who want to know more about 3 reasons that I still feel that is unfounded, is unfair: allowances, transfer, and then recommendation to a president that you can appoint as soon as you are Benting, which the person has the right. That was the opportunity that you missed.
Can I answer you?
Yes, Osayini.
Thank you. Omain, first of all, I think that if you yourself, you are being fair to me and following my advocacy in the public space, at parliament and at programs that I attend, you realize that consistently I've been saying there, let's end this vicious cycle of I do you, you do me. I hope that you've been hearing me say that. Because you see, Ghana is all we have. But it is also not MPP in order can wasam. I want our media, civil society organizations. So far, unfortunately, maybe CSOs are giving NDC some honeymoon. maybe. But so far, all the human rights advocacy groups that I know have been very quiet. This bill, I think that no pay yakan. I've been loud on this matter, and I've been consistently saying that look, ejumankade obi sebio when yasam intino kofe japazibra ansana wa mobile as if there was a bill number 1. Look at what happened to a former boss MD Orutukwan Namozinato your friend then stop list without telling him. Hey, it's yenyanum NDC for dachi. The me a drew winner wasn't to be no one touch amadui. And a woman won't be a wobotu wa tefre, wobotu wa mini. Emi debia me phone me catch one. Am I in? Debiara and one now what say a summon me phone ma catch the bro. Zamu ye munshen ye yo. Because oh yes if him. Your aim is to disgrace, embarrass, but in the end,
is that their aim or the law at work?
Oh, come on. Oh, man, come on. And some of our judges too. One also is like, I want to please my master, so bail condition. First of all,